Jews. All right, so that's what Jesus came to preach to. This is who Moses came to preach to. Whereas Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we say peace be upon him. Okay. So Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was sent for all of mankind. So the message that he brought is for you specifically.
Okay. So can I ask a question?
Sure.
How come then in Christianity, so we worship Jesus?
Why?
Because he died for us. That's one of them, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Me being
No, of course, yeah. But the thing is, Jesus worshipped someone else.
But Jesus is the Son of God, and also he is God himself,
right.
isn't it? He's the Father, the Son, the Holy
That's the understanding that the Christians, claim to understand. The issue you have is that the Son of God is a Jewish term. All right? It's not a Christian term. It's a Jewish term that means a righteous man. All right? Son of God means a righteous man. You have many sons of God in the Bible, and they were all righteous men. So that was the origin, that was the original meaning. And even if you look through the New Testament and you see how the people viewed Jesus at his time, none of them worshipped him. None of them worshipped him.
Yeah, there was a lot of naysayers.
None of the people that he preached to worshipped him or thought of him as God. They always thought of him as the Messiah, or prophet, or a son of David, right? And son of man, or the son of God. And there was no understanding whatsoever that he was God himself. This is a later understanding. What you have adopted is a later understanding, whereas for us, in our tradition, we say, Jesus, peace be upon him, he was but a messenger. Many messengers came before him, right? We believe in the virgin birth. We believe that he did miracles, right? But we do not believe he was ever crucified. And we have evidences for that, we can get into it, but we don't believe that he was ever crucified. We believe he's the Messiah.
Why doesn't Muhammad believe? Because I've seen that I think I've seen Muhammad himself said in scripture, Jesus wasn't crucified. Doesn't believe that Jesus was the Son.
No, so Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not the author of the Quran.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. What I'm saying is it not in the hadith? I might be completely wrong.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Is it not in the hadith that Muhammad himself says, I do not believe that Jesus was crucified? Something along those lines?
No, he doesn't. Not in that way. But he mentions about the return of Jesus, peace be upon him, and he mentions that the Son of Mary will descend on the eastern side of Damascus, on his hands on two angels. His hair will be wet, or seemingly wet. He will have a saffron-like gown, sort of dress on. Not dress, but like attire. He'll have a saffron-like attire. Wearing, his hands will be on the wings of two angels, and we'll be witness to all of this. So that will be the de facto sign that is the Messiah, returning, which is different to the eschatology of the Bible. I understand, but this is our faith, and but that is an offshoot, because the core message is, as it is said in the Bible, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. That's the Hebrew for Hear, O Israel. Your Lord, your God, your Lord is one, right? So I'm sure they taught you this.
Bro, I don't spend that much. I don't go to the church anyway.
No, but that should, see, the thing is, and this is what I'm saying to you, the core message is who God is.
Okay.
So even if you haven't gone to church or anything, the people who have invited you to the faith, that should be the number one thing, but it's not. The number one thing that they call you to is love, peace, the crucifixion. Fine, but that's not devoid in Islam, right?
I respectfully, I don't.
That's
From what
fine.
I've seen, I don't believe that's true.
That's fine.
I've read parts of the Quran,
that's fine.
Surah 9.
929, verse 5. Yeah, don't worry.
51, 34.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Well, for me,
But
I would say the majority of Muslims are cool, right? But as for from what I've seen in the scripture itself, and you can definitely make the same criticism.
Yeah, don't need it. It's okay now, alhamdulillah.
You could definitely make the same criticism of the Old Testament, right? But the problem I have with that is that
New
Christianity went through that reform, right?
No, New
Now we've
Testament
got
as
the New
well.
Testament.
It's in the New Testament as well.
Sure. There's also a couple of things in the New Testament that you should be questioning.
But it's contextualized, right?
Yes, it's contextualized. But my problem is
so it's the same in the Quran.
But my problem is this. And once again, I think you're probably an alright guy, and the same goes to
maybe
2/3 of the Muslims.
Maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know you like that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, there are clearly X amount of Muslims in the world, and you could probably make the same case for anyone of any religion.
What, terrorists?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I agree.
But and what they say is like every time they do something is Allahu Akbar. So why did they say my God is greater than yours every time they do something?
No, we don't say greater. We say He's the greatest.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what Allah.
That's what it means. Allahu Akbar means
So-
Allah is the greatest.
Why is it when these guys go and do something bad, they
Look,
always quote
any-
the verse from
any-
the Quran or the Hadith?
Look, people have done this throughout the centuries, right? Cite religious text that doesn't support them to claim that it supports them.
Right.
It happened in the Crusades. It happened with certain Islamic organizations. All right, but it doesn't mean that's what the teaching is, does it?
So what would you say is like the tenets, like the main tenets of Islamic teaching? Like what
So
is
to
it-
believe
what is it
to
that
believe in
Islam
one God,
wants for a person?
to believe in one God, right? To believe in His prophets, to believe in the scriptures, to believe in the angels, to believe in predestination, whether it was good or bad, and to believe in the and to believe in heaven and hell, the last day. That's the 6 articles of faith that are key to every Muslim.
And in a practical sense, what does that look like? Like in a real world.
In the real world
What
scenario,
does that look like? So how does a devout Muslim conduct themselves?
by treating his brother how would you like to be treated,
Is that regardless of
faith,
Okay.
right? So Allah, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in his last sermon, that an Arab is not superior to a non-Arab, and a non-Arab is not superior to an Arab, right? A black man is not superior to a white man is not superior to a black man. But the superiority comes in what? Piety. So those who are
I don't know that word.
piety, more righteous.
Okay.
Those who are more righteous, who stand with God, those are the ones who excel, right, and are better than others. But that's in the eyes of God. We don't go around and say, I'm better than you because I believe in God better than you do. No. This is for God to judge, right? But for us, we treat one another with kindness and humility. In the Quran, in chapter 6, verse 8, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah does not forbid you from dealing kindly and justly with those who do not throw you out of your homes. And of course, there's a historical context to that, as the Muslims, like the early Christians, were persecuted for simply being positioned for the camera.
Like a whole new
So so there's a context. Allah does not forbid us from dealing kindly and justly. And even if we talk about the context of war, like you said, chapter 9, verse 5, 929 and stuff, there is a specific context to that, and this is with regards to people who have enmity with us.
So since I mentioned it, what's the context within which 929?
So 929 is actually in the context of a battle that never took place, right? But it mentions that, when people come to attack you, to fight you, to kill you, yes, you retaliate, right? You retaliate and you defend yourselves, you fight them back. And you have no mercy upon them when you're fighting them. But what people tend to not add on is in chapter 2, verse 190 to 192, it mentions the same thing. Fight them until there's no corruption. But if they stop fighting you, then you stop, right? So when hostility ceases, you should be quick to cease the hostility as well. And then it finishes off by saying, and Allah is forgiving, right? So we could talk about the wrath of Allah, but when it talks about the ceasing of hostility, Allah mentions His attributes of forgiveness, right? So I would advise you to read the Quran in its entirety. Good.
If you'll give me a Quran, I don't know if that's a thing.
No. We do have a Quran. Can we get a Quran, inshallah, for him?
Do I bring it back? Or?
No, that's for you to keep. That's for you to keep. Yeah. Can someone bring one for him, inshallah?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
That's okay. That's no problem. Yeah. At the end of the day, like we say, Islam is for all of mankind. It is not for the Arabs, particularly, or anyone. And like I said, Christianity in its inception, Judaism in its inception with Moses and with Jesus, it was for the but it was for the children of Israel, and it was never to be preached to be otherwise. Whereas Islam, at its inception, it was for all of mankind, right? As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran regarding the Prophet, peace be upon him, indeed we have sent you as a mercy to the world, right? Not even mankind, to the world. And the angel, and the thing is, it's interesting because there is a narration where with the angel Gabriel, he came, he was with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And Muhammad, peace be upon him, asked the angel Gabriel, who said, he read this verse. When the verse was revealed, he asked the angel Gabriel, he said, has my mercy reached you? And the angel Gabriel said yes, because until today I did not know my status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And of course we know that the angel is the supreme angel, right? He is the highest of the archangels even. But for the angel of Gabriel, it was the revelation of the Quran that gave him that peace with regards to his station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's how the mercy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, transferred to the angel Gabriel. So it's not even about mankind; it's for all the world. This is the power of the message of Islam. This is the power of the Quran that has come to the world. All right, so it's specifically for you. And when you read it, inshallah, you will see that how it speaks to you as an individual, as well as speaking to all of humanity. And the Quran is a guide. It is not a storybook. All right, it doesn't go through. It mentions some of the stories of the prophets, but in order to teach us a lesson, to give us guidance to be better. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions about those who go astray, who choose to go astray, and gives them the warning. There is a balance here, that those who do righteous, they will attain good in this world and in the hereafter, and those who do bad deeds, they will attain a foul destiny in the hereafter, right? Namely hellfire. But at the end of the day, it's our choice how we conduct ourselves. So when you mentioned that most of the Muslims are good and good people, it's the Quran, it's the message of Islam that makes us this way.
Here's what confuses me is how people talk about Prophet Muhammad when he was in the Meccan period and then when he was in the
Medina. Yeah.
There seems to be quite a profound difference between how he conducts himself, how he preaches his teaching.
No.
So, from the way I can see it, it seemed like he was a more peaceful person and he was preaching a more positive message in the Meccan period than when he was in the Medinan period.
So we know which surahs are the Meccan and which ones are the Medinan surahs. But if you look at the Quran, you won't actually see a shift, right, in that. How the Prophet ﷺ conducted himself was the same way, even in Medina. Yes, he engaged in warfare and battle, he was a statesman, he was a leader, he was a military man, and he wasn't that in Mecca. But even in Mecca, when the companions were being persecuted and everything, he would give them prophecies of military conquest. He said, while they're being persecuted and killed, that's for you, no problem. While they were being persecuted and killed, the Prophet ﷺ said to them,
the hadiths in it as well?
No, the hadith is separate. You can come at any time and ask us questions and everything. Many of us have channels where you can come, and contacts where you can email us and stuff. I'll give you my contacts if you need. He was telling them about military conquest. He said, you will conquer Constantinople, which happened. We know it happened. But this is at a time where they were persecuted. So when we're talking about the Prophet ﷺ and how he changed with regards to how he dealt with people, no. Because the prophecy in itself saying about his congregation, his people, the Muslims conquering other people, engaging in warfare.
That's a lot of mics you got on you, bro.
I know. I'm already way down with the water. Now they've got the mics. Now they've got the mics on. So, So, and even when you see the Prophet ﷺ outside of war, during battle, he was a lion, fierce. The companions would hide behind him. If they were wavering in their courage, they would fight behind him, and he would go forth.
Is this? I know there's like 3 separate definitions for jihad. Is this what you define as jihad?
Yeah, this is also jihad. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah? So jihad fi sabilillah comes in many forms. Yes, as you mentioned.
So it's like the inner war.
Yeah, the inner struggle. Then you've got defensive jihad and offensive jihad. Now. So in battle he was like that, but outside of battle he was the best man you could, even in warfare he conducted himself in a perfect way. But outside of the battlefield, he was just like he was in Mecca, even more gracious, right? The Prophet ﷺ, there's many stories. For example, the Jewish woman, every time he would walk past her, she'd throw rubbish at him, rotten stuff. She'd throw. And then one day he walked past her house and she didn't throw rubbish at him. Do you know what he did? He went in to check on her to see if she was okay. So I mean, normally if it was me, walking past someone constantly, I'll be thankful. Oh, at least I get a day break. No, he went in to check on her. It's a Jewish woman who absolutely hates him, throwing rotten food at him. and he goes in to check on her.
So
yeah?
the reason, so this is why I'm kind of brought the difference between him doing the Meccan period and the Medina.
No, this is in the Medina. This is in the Medina
this is in
period.
Medina.
Yeah, because the Jews are situated in Medina.
Alright, fair enough.
Yeah.
My bad.
No,
but,
that's okay.
So, see, in some ways it seems like he's a decent guy, right? But then, and I hate to bring this up because I know you probably get it a lot.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
The stuff with Aisha.
Yeah, that's fine.
Her being six,
Yeah.
and then nine.
Nine.
You know. And I get that people make the argument that obviously it's a different time and back then blah 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 this and that.
See, I won't make that argument to you.
Yeah. So see, for me, the same way that we as a people, we've always understood the difference between man and woman. How is it that Muhammad, he seems like he was historically a pretty smart guy. How is it though he didn't understand that there was a difference between a child and an adult?
He did know.
But then, see, this is the problem I have though, is that she was still playing with toys, narrated by herself, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And all the other girls would like disappear as soon as she appeared, and then he would do what he wants to. But how? And I understand that, like for Muslims, Muhammad is
the pinnacle.
The example, you should aspire to
to be like him. Yeah, to emulate him. That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that not mean that you're also implying that what he did, paedophilia, is how I define it?
No, that's fine if you define it that way. Let's have an understanding.
Does that not mean you're implying that what he did is acceptable?
Yes, not implying. We're saying yes, that's acceptable. Not only acceptable, we have no issues with it.
In all ages.
No, see the thing is we have.
Because this is what.
No. There, even his marriage. Okay, you mentioned paedophilia. Let's define paedophilia. Paedophilia is a sexual attraction to prepubescent children, correct?
Yeah, and
that's how it's defined.
What Aisha would have been, isn't it?
Right. Was there a sexual attraction to her?
He had sex with her, isn't it?
No. She was 6 years old. Did he have a sexual attraction to her?
I can't say when she was 6 he had a sexual attraction to her.
Right, so he didn't.
When he married her, but at 9 he did have sex with her.
Okay. At 9 years old, she's a woman. Okay. We'll get to that. Okay. But we'll look at the definition and then we'll look at the reality. Now the reality is he wasn't even interested in her. Why did he marry her then?
I couldn't know.
Allah told him to. All right.
Oh, so, he brought her down with that bird, isn't it? In the cloth or something like that. Like I read this yesterday or something. Very briefly.
I'm not too certain of what you're
Allah
referring.
sent her down like she was in some kind of.
Oh, the dream. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then he went to Abu Bakr.
Yeah.
And Abu Bakr was hesitant. Yeah, radiallahu anhu. He was hesitant of giving his daughter to the Prophet Muhammad. But was the reason her age? It wasn't her age because she was already someone else has already proposed to her before.
Yeah.
Right. So she was. It wasn't her age. It was because it was awkward between two best friends. That was his reason as to why he was hesitant. They were so close that he was like, "But you're my brother. That's how I see you. You know, I can't give you my daughter because you're my brother." So that was the hesitance. And what do you call it? And Rasulullah ﷺ corrected him. He was like, "Look, oh yes, we're brothers in Islam, but she's lawful to me." So and at the end of the day, so then the marriage in of itself happened due to revelation. It wasn't due to any pedophilic trope, right? And a pedophile, he will exercise his lust on a prepubescent child. What did he do, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He waited 3 years until she attained womanhood. Now, why do we say attained womanhood? It's because she passed blood. Yeah, she passed blood. So she became a woman, all right? So when that happened, then he consummated the marriage. So what does that do for us as Muslims today in this setting? A couple of things. Muslims mention about the time, which means we have to take into consideration culture. The times that we live in. That's one thing. The second thing is we ensure that we determine that she is a woman, that she's able to.
Okay, so can I ask you this? How would you define a woman then?
How do we define a
what
woman?
meets the criteria of a woman?
Right. A woman is a woman who has passed blood. Right?
But it's got to be more than that. Like.
No, that's the defining transition for a woman between being a child and being an adult, right? See, for us as Muslims, we don't have the concept of teenager, adolescent.
Okay, so here's what I would say a woman is. Right? And obviously, I've been born and raised here in London. I'm a Western guy.
I was born and raised here as well, but I don't buy into I don't buy into
this.
this.
How I think the majority of men,
Yeah.
regardless of their religion, will believe what a woman is.
Okay.
It's an adult human female.
What makes her an adult human female?
She's past puberty.
Right.
She's gone through
Right.
the stage of puberty.
Exactly. So but that's exactly what I said. She passed blood.
If you're going to go by law, obviously we'll say it's 18 and over.
No, but the thing is, so we say pass blood, all right, or puberty, okay? Now, there are some women that don't pass blood, okay, but they're still considered women because they still go through puberty, they just don't pass blood, right? Amenorrhea is the condition. Now, that's the criteria for us, right? So we have to take into consideration the culture. We have to take into consideration the fact that the woman is a woman, right? And she's not a child. We have to take into consideration her mental ability, right? So she has to be able to consent as well, which Aisha radiallahu anha, she was able to do. Now for us standing here today thinking about a 6-year-old consenting is hard for us to understand.
Yeah,
I get
I
that.
would never accept it.
Okay, I get that. But that's the history, right?
Yeah.
That's the history. So we learned that a woman has to be able to give consent, okay? And that she's able to fulfill her duties, okay? As a wife, okay? So this is the other. So these are the factors that we have to take into consideration when we are approaching a woman for marriage, right? Now, in some Arab countries, we still betroth our daughters at a young age, right? But we ensure that they've passed puberty and they consent to the marriage. Forcing a woman to get married is prohibited in Islam, okay? Despite some cultures doing it, we fight against it. I'm aware of the problems that Muslims have.
Can I ask you where you're from, by the way?
Yemen. Yemen.
Oh, Yemen.
Yeah.
And are you Sunni or Shia?
I'm Sunni, alhamdulillah, yeah. Don't worry about the Shia.
Is there a big difference?
Massive difference, right? So the Sunni position is evidence, right? This is why I'm a Sunni, because I can evidence it from the Quran and the Sunnah and all our texts, right? And the tradition and everything. So when it comes to the Prophet ﷺ, when we break it down like this, we show that there was nothing immoral about what the Prophet ﷺ did. At the time he was living in, the culture had this, where women, girls as young as that, would get married, okay? But he set the standard.
I came here to see him as well.
He gave us the example of how to conduct ourselves when approaching marriage. It was not to say that because he's the example for us, that means we got to go around finding 6-year-olds. That's not what it means, right? In fact, marrying a 6-year-old is one of the things that is not a sunnah for us.
So,
it is not a tradition for us.
Iraq recently, you probably all know this. I saw this a few weeks ago. Their parliamentary system, or whatever, their government system, they were attempting to implement
the Sharia.
No. So they wanted to lower the age limit for
that's fine.
little girls.
Yeah, that's fine.
From whatever it was down to, I think it was 9.
I don't think it was as low as 9.
From what I understand, it was 9.
I've not seen as low as 9.
So,
but regardless,
is that justified?
Regardless, if no, see,
based on
the thing is, for me, yeah, exactly. It's got to be based on the evidence of the scriptures and the tradition.
Yeah.
Islam does not have an age of consent, right? It doesn't have an age of consent. Because, for example, let's take the 9-year-old example, for example, if Iraq is in Siduna. If it's a 9-year-old girl, okay, but even if, let's say it goes through. If there is a 9-year-old who consents, who is able to consent, who's past the age of puberty, who can fulfill her duties in the marriage, and it's society and the society and the culture accepts it, then by all means go for it. But why is there no age of consent in Islam? Because we could have a 25-year-old girl, beautiful, what do you call it? She's past her menses and everything, but she has a mental illness. Does that qualify her for marriage? No.
No, because you wouldn't be able to say that she's able to give.
Exactly.
But this is what I was going to say.
I don't know. That's fine.
This is what I was going to say. We have to go at this, I guess, from a more scientific point of view. So science would say a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old are not able to give consent because their brain hasn't fully developed in a way that allows
today, yeah, I agree.
Moral decisions.
Today, yes, I agree.
Marriage is a highly moral decision.
I agree.
Engaging in sex, especially for the first time, even for me, that's a highly moral decision. I don't. And science has said that from
Look,
day one. So
but notice what I said. If they have the mental ability, right, to consent, to fulfill their duties, that's the only time they will be. If that's not fulfilled, we cannot marry them.
But what I'm implying is that Aisha wouldn't have had the ability to consent.
No, but you're taking 21st century studies and imposing it on the 7th century. The 7th century.
How do we know then that Aisha herself was able, mentally speaking, physically, you can make the case.
She's the one that's narrating this.
Yes, but right. what I'm asking is, how can you make the case that she really can consent? Because science says we've been like this from day one in terms of our mental development.
No, but that's not true.
So then did she develop differently?
No, Aisha radiallahu anha, she was like most of the women at her time. At a very young age, I can even prove it to you today, right? When we look at war-torn countries or countries that have extreme poverty, you see little children, as young as 6, 7, 8, they're doing the work of adults. Why? Because in order to survive, they are forced to mature mentally, right? The environment around them forces them to mature quicker than a girl would in the UK, living a comfortable life. Likewise, in the 7th century, you have the desert, it's always survival. So you're forced to mature. So Aisha, that's one perspective, right? But we know in the history that in the Arabian Peninsula, the girls were able to consent at that time. It was a norm, right, for girls to be married at that time. So like I said, to question the history here, it doesn't really make sense because it's well documented. In fact, what has happened in the Arabian Peninsula, particularly in the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ, is more documented than any other time in history with relation to an individual and a community. So there is no questions about that. Yes, there are people that try to cast doubt on that and go down the Orientalist route, but we have arguments to prove that they are wrong in their assessments. But going back to the whole idea of paedophilia as well, what are the mental and what's the mental trauma and the physical trauma that one would get from that? We know what girls go through mentally when they are abused in that way at a young age. You don't see any of those. You don't see any of that in Aisha radiallahu anha. In fact, she grew not only to love the Prophet ﷺ, and to defend him, but she was a scholar. She propagated his religion, right? All of these things are the complete polar opposite of what you would expect.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So I understand.
I'm not saying she can't grow to love who he was, but
yeah, we can talk about that. We can talk
about. As a child, it was wrong for Muhammad to engage in sex.
No, but he didn't. That's the thing.
When she was 9, he got her sex with her.
When she was a woman, he did. He consummated when she became a woman.
Sorry, I just want to ask, so when you say she became a woman, is it when puberty starts kind of thing, or is it?
No, when she was at her menses, when the menses. So for us, the sign of puberty, of someone hitting puberty and reaching the age of accountability, it's a physical sign. For the women, it's passing blood, and for the men, it's their first wet dream, right? So for me, I'm not going to say for me when it's cameras, but for any Muslim man, as soon as he has his first wet dream, he's accountable by Allah. At that point, Allah has decided that you are capable of making decisions, moral decisions. So that is the marker of when a man and a woman can engage in intimacy, can get married and engage in intimacy.
So you don't, like, the way we view it here in like Western civilization would be teenager, and that whole period is you becoming. You say
for us,
that happens,
you're an adult.
So my question after what he just said is, how do you decide that? How old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
33.
33, right. So
how old do you think I am? No,
how would you then compare you as a 33-year-old to I don't know, a 15-year-old boy? Would you say that you're able to make moral decisions better than he is, or?
No, look. In terms of the decisions of right and wrong, obviously my experience, my life experience, will allow me to make better decisions than he can. But the principle of knowing between right and wrong, it's the same. I just have more experience, right? That's the only thing that's separating between me and a 15-year-old is experience, is a life experience. life experience has taught me how to analyze certain decisions in several more ways than I would have at 15. And this is what we pass on to them. We don't, at 15, I wouldn't go to a 15-year-old and teach him what is right and wrong. You get me?
You have to let him know.
He already knows. I just help him in his thought process of how to judge things. That's the thing. But I don't need to go to a 15-year-old and say, by the way, this is right and that's wrong. Don't need to do that. No one does that. Unless, of course, they have an impairment of some sort, and that's where the pin. And for us in Islam, if someone has a mental impairment that they cannot make those decisions, moral decisions, the pen is lifted. Allah does not hold them to account because out of His justice. So why would you hold someone to account who can't make a decision for himself? There's the justice and there's the mercy of Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's not unjust to any of His mankind. He doesn't command anything that's immoral. Even with, we touched briefly on jihad, even in jihad, the enemies have rights. Yeah? So if we capture an enemy and we tie them up, we cannot harm them. Right? So if they are tied, we are not allowed to harm them. Because they're tied, they're subdued.
You're going to make a few more points, aren't
you? Yeah, so I'm just, in terms of the people that we capture, in terms of the jizya, yeah, the jizya tax, okay, if when they pay it, they have the right to have their own churches, their own legal systems even, education and everything. They're able to do that. In warfare as well, there's very stringent rules. We cannot attack, religious buildings or priests and rabbis. We cannot even cut down a tree if it bears fruit. If a tree bears fruit, we can't cut it down. Because even though we are fighting the enemy, we know who the tree bearing fruit is going to be used by. It's not the army, it's the people. So even in that, we have conduct and guidance to ensure that we do not transgress the limits and become oppressors. We don't oppress the people.
Okay, so you're
yeah.
So I want to touch base then on you mentioned jizya.
Yes.
So jizya that's genuinely paid by dhimmi.
Yeah.
Or you guys use the word dhimmi or dhimmi? Dhimmi. That implies that I, as a Christian, if I was in an Islamic state, I would be a second or a third class citizen. No?
What does that mean? What is your?
I've never lived in that kind of situation.
No, but what does the term even mean? Dhimmi.
Dhimmi, I don't know the literal definition.
Right. The literal definition means the protected person. Right. So a dhimmi is someone who has paid the jizya tax in order to be protected. Okay, and even that's an option. So if for example, and the thing is, it is only paid by men like yourself who are able-bodied and of military age, right? And when you pay that, it means that when it comes to warfare, I have to lay down my life for you. Even though I'm a believer in Allah and His Messenger and you're not, my blood is to be spilt for yours, right? So this is the level. So when we talk about second and third class citizen, what does that actually mean? It doesn't mean anything in the context of a dhimmi. Because in fact,
you can look to other examples in history, like for instance, if you looked at the way Nazis treated Jews, I mean, you didn't really get to be a citizen, you just kill you.
Who?
Right? The Nazis, if you were a Jew, they would.
Yeah, but they're not Muslims. We're talking about.
Yeah. I'm making an argument based on your assertion of what a dhimmi is. Yeah. What I'm saying is, if you're a second or a third class citizen, that generally means you're not going to be treated the same way as a first class citizen. You're going to be afforded less rights, less.
But is that the case with the Sharia? It's not. I mean, if we have a dhimmi, it means you live under our land, you pay 1 dinar per year. Yeah, 1 dinar is like, I think, let's say it's worth £100 today. You pay £100 a year for your protection. Okay, and with that £100, what do you get in return? You get exempted, not only exempt from military service, but if in the event of a battle, you get protected from war. Then you have the right to establish your own education system according to your belief systems. You have the right to preach your religion. You have the right to practice your religion. You have the right to use the same facilities as the Muslims.
So, as I understand, I'm not completely well-read in all this.
That's fine.
As I understand it, there's several Islamic nations where non-Muslims are persecuted, whether it's Christians or any.
I'm talking to you from the perspective of the religion.
No, so I'm just making I'm making a statement. I'm going to ask you a question based on the statement. So if you look at Egypt, for instance, Islam right now there is the dominant ideology or religion.
Yes.
And Christians, historically, the Coptic Christians have been persecuted. I don't know if you agree.
They're still there.
Yeah, no, they're still there. But what I'm saying is they get persecuted. They're not treated equally to Muslims, as I understand.
No, I disagree.
Okay, do you wanna?
I disagree because, like, you know, throughout their history, we've been in Egypt since the 7th century, right? So for 1400 years, their churches still stand from when they originally built them, right? So we didn't purge them, right? We didn't.
No, I'm not saying you purged.
Yeah, but we didn't. You know, I'm not saying that there were never moments in history where there was a malpractice of the Sharia and non-Muslims were persecuted. There are examples.
Yeah.
There are examples in Morocco,
So,
for example.
What would be your opinions or your view of the current way that the Iranian regime?
Iran is a Shia. Iran is a Shia state. We have, you know, even more fundamental issues with them than what they're currently doing. Okay, they're not our friends at all.
Yeah. But they still have Islamic beliefs.
No, they don't. They don't.
No?
They don't. Right.
So what is it that makes you as a Sunni
Yeah.
Islamic in your belief?
Okay.
And not them?
So they believe in the concept of the 12 infallible imams. Okay, for the most part, right? And they are actually their sect was born of people that killed Muslims. All right.
I'm assuming that's why you have had war.
No, but it's also from a theological perspective, right? They attribute things to men that can only be attributed to God, which takes them out of the fold of Islam, essentially, right? So there are some Shia that we deem as disbelievers and some Shia that we deem as simply severely misguided, depending on what their theology is. But in terms of their application of the Sharia is different to what we do, and it's not a just system, okay? But in terms of the world today, leave that to the Muslims, all right? In all, with respect, it's none of your business because that's a problem we have to deal with, okay?
So
as
as a
Muslims.
Christian, I believe in, we should, I believe in what Bob says about being a Muslim. So, standing firm in that thing.
Standing firm in your faith is one thing,
And
right?
I believe that it is right that I should liberate, and I'm sure maybe you as a Muslim would say the same thing, that I should liberate my fellow Christian brothers and sisters when they're being persecuted. Give them liberty. So, for me, I can't look at what's going on over there and say it's none of my business, because a lot of the people there are converting to Christianity. Of course, they're probably...
Look, I'm talking about in terms of the geopolitics regarding Muslim rules, rulers and, that stuff. That is a problem for us to solve, right? It's not for the Christians to solve because it's within our paradigm. It's within our nation.
Respectfully, I've got to disagree with you there, because if you look at why the Crusades happened, it was right before the Seljuk Turks. It was right in line with the Seljuk Turks invading Christian nations and pillaging and...
Yeah, but that's when there's a crossover, right, between two warring nations.
This is why the Crusades happened, bro. Like, because
No, that's okay. No, well.
So, I get where you're coming from. You're saying that Muslims, this should be left to Muslims and Muslims should sort it out, right?
Yeah, Muslim affairs should be left to Muslim affairs. Yeah.
Let's say you switch it.
No, in the same way, like we don't get involved in Christian affairs.
Right, but if Christian nations, as they already have in Iraq and Afghanistan, where they've come, to start war, they kill everyone there or X amount of people, and a lot of these people are Muslims that end up being killed, and they're just innocent people, right?
Yeah, but then we get involved.
And you get involved. So why shouldn't it be the same?
Because now it's crossing over into our territory, right? So, like I didn't say to you, don't worry about the Christians over there. I said don't leave Muslim affairs. Right, and rulers and geopolitics, leave that to the Muslims to deal. Right, we have people for that. But I never said to you, because you've got Christians in Iran, forget about them as well. No, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the bigger picture. But what I'm saying to you is regarding Islam, what Islam teaches. If the entirety of the Muslim world, didn't apply Islam correctly, it doesn't take away from the message of Islam and how Islam should be implemented. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ himself mentioned that Islam will become a stranger, i.e. the people that follow Islam in the true way will be very small, despite our number. So, and that's a prophecy that's being fulfilled, right? A testament to the fact that he is a prophet from Allah. So, we're more than aware of what we need to do as Muslims. We've got things to fix ourselves, which is why we don't chuck things at the Christians. We have our own problems. We don't try to get involved in Christian policies. But where it conflicts with our values and stuff, yeah, we we stand up, when we defend against it. Because now it's crossing into our territory. We're like, whoa, stay back a little. And I expect the same from the Christians. But at the end of the day, we don't want that conflict. We want peace. We want people to treat each other with respect and with kindness and with justice.
Do you want social?
Yeah, go.
So you want peace and all that stuff?
Of course.
So is there a context within which you want that to happen, like a caliphate, or is it regardless of
whether there is a caliphate or not?
Okay, so
we want a caliphate because the caliphate establishes a base where Islam can be spread across the world and we can proselytize more effectively.
Is that something you believe should happen, or
is
it an ideal?
No, it's something I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what if everyone here decides?
It's better than what you've got at the moment.
Don't get me wrong, bro. I hate the government too, probably as much
Respect.
as you do. Yeah, especially now. But,
Okay, so, but yeah, because the caliphate means establishing a societal system and a government system that will benefit the Muslims and non-Muslims alike.
Right, but then what if the majority of people, the majority of non-Muslims, which is the majority of the country basically, what if they say no, we don't want?
Islam is not a democratic system.
Right. So what happens when they say no, we're not having that?
Well, they have a choice. No, but they have a choice. They can either remain.
My question is, what's the consequence of them saying no? What happens then?
Nothing. If they don't want it, they can go to different lands.
No, but this is what I'm saying. This is our home. So if like for instance, if I come into your home, right, and I say, all right, here's what we're going to change. I'm just a guest, essentially, in this context.
No, but this is no. But it's not a guest anymore.
Can I finish?
Go on.
So let's say you invite me into your house, and I come into your house, and I'm just a guest, right? And then I start making rules. I start staying longer than you welcomed me, and I start making rules. You can't do this. Put this over here. Blah blah blah. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, that's a different. The analogy doesn't work.
Why not?
Because we're not talking about someone that's just come in as a guest and starts dictating things. We're talking about a governing system, right? They are the people that have now been put in charge.
If I start setting rules there,
what you need to ask is,
isn't there not an issue because I'm doing that against
but the question you should ask, what is the system? In the same way we ask the questions to the government today, what is the system that you want us to follow?
No, true.
Right, and they don't ask us if we like it or not. Yeah. They tell us that this is what we're going to do. It's a guise of democracy. Let's be honest, this country is not democratic. Yeah. It's not, right? So we got the elections and everything, but at the end of the day, they do what they want to do. Yeah. And if we like it, we like it. If we don't like it, tough.
Right.
We'll either stay or we go to another land. Same thing with the caliphate. So, but what happens under a caliphate? What's the rules? Yeah. Whatever you do at home, we don't get involved in. Right? What you do in public and what affects society, we get involved in. Right? And what is it that we're going to legislate? We're going to legislate things that are beneficial for mankind. Not things that are going to harm them. Like this country at the moment, it legalizes gambling, drinking, sexual immorality. I mean, the whole idea that you're allowed to be intimate at the age of 16, but you can't get married until you're 18.
Yeah. I've got a problem with life and laws.
Right. So whereas us, we're going to say, we don't want you drinking in public. Yeah. Can you drink it at church? Yeah.
What about a pub?
No.
Right, see, this is where we're clashing, right? Because I'm an Englishman, like obviously not ethnically.
Yeah, but we're not. But the thing is, we're not stopping you.
This is a part of our culture, isn't it? So we like to drink in fellowship.
You can do that. You can do that in your own gatherings, but
and our gathering places are oftentimes when it's not at it's at the pub, it's at the bar.
I agree that. I understand that. Yeah. But see, the thing is,
my question is to you. So I know I hate to keep interrupting.
Yeah, go on.
I haven't fully made my point.
Go on.
My question to you is, why should we not do that?
Because it's not good for you.
It's not good for you if you go over the top. If you start drinking more than you can,
you
lose yourself.
You were talking about what doctors say and the science says. What does the science say about drinking? How much is acceptable?
I don't know the science.
0%.
Right.
0% is acceptable.
Right, but regardless of that.
No. Wait, hold on a second. Are you saying you're gonna now you want to ignore the science?
No, I accept absolutely.
Look, be careful with your desires.
Yeah, absolutely. But regardless, it is a part of our culture, isn't it?
You don't accept it.
No.
Is it acceptable when two men stand there?
I mean, I don't like to look at two men kissing, but if that's what they want to do, let them do it.
That's why.
No, see, but in public, no. In public, no. There is zero tolerance on things like that because it causes corruption in society.
Or for gay men?
No, even
I'm trying to understand the context of it.
even for a married Muslim man and woman, right? A heterosexual married couple should not display intimacy in public, right? This is an Islamic ruling. If I'm walking with my wife, it is not advisable for me to even hold her hand, right? Because one thing leads to another. And physical connection, which is why Muslims, we can't even shake the hands of another woman, right? Physical contact, there is a biological thing that happens with physical contact.
Which is?
Huh? It could. We're not saying. Look, we're not. Yeah, no. We're not saying that something happens immediately.
Yeah,
but like the softness of a woman's hand could do something to. It could make a man feel something, right? Or the roughness of a man's hand could do something to a woman. You never know. No, that happens. What?
Bro,
No.
a lot of women. I shake hands with a lot of women. As women,
I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it will.
The
I'm
point
saying
I'm making
we're
to
talking
you
about the potentiality of things.
Right, but this sounds like, for instance, if it's you that has this problem, you shake a woman's hand and you feel something and blah blah blah.
No.
That sounds like that's a you problem. That's not a men problem.
No, this is within the nature of man that a woman is beautiful in her entirety, right?
Right, but shouldn't men be? Wouldn't it not be better and more? Would it not be more logical and more beneficial than instead to say that men should control their impulses?
That is what we say.
No,
but no.
You're
The
saying
thing
that
is,
we as a people, men and women, can't do certain things because us men will react.
because
that way.
prevention is better than the cure. So what you don't want to do is put yourself in that position to then control yourself. You'd rather not have to control yourself in the first place and stay away from it, right?
I get
So like I said, even لا حول ولا قوة إلا
I
بالله.
hear what you're saying over.
That's alright, that's alright.
Sorry.
Anyway, what was I saying? So yeah, Islam has a principle to prevent things from even starting to happen. So even for Muslims, we were talking about drinking. For Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even says in the Quran, وَلَا تَقْرُبُوا, right? Don't even come near alcohol, right? So don't even come near it so that the temptation doesn't get to you, because you always have Satan whispering, you know? And what does Satan do? He doesn't tell you to do the bad thing. He doesn't say that. He will say to you, he will say to me, he was like, you know, look, why don't you go hang out with your non-Muslim friends? Doesn't mention anything about drinking. Then you start hanging out with your friends. They having a beer and, you know, 1 pint or one bottle and everything, and you're not doing anything. Then he'll say, oh, what do you call it? You know, you like it. You like hanging out with them. They're going to the pub. Why don't you go? You can just have an orange juice. Again, no mention of drinking. You'll go to the pub. You know,
But in
you'll
this
have it,
context, you can still end up drinking it.
and then you end up drinking,
Yeah, I get
right?
it.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His love and mercy for us, He keeps us completely away. He doesn't even allow Satan to even be able to whisper these ideas, because every avenue is blocked from its inception. So that's what I'm saying to you. For you as a Christian who's drinking, me as a Muslim telling you, I'm gonna, if this was a caliphate system, and so I said to you, you can't drink in a public setting, that's not me taking away your freedom to drink. You can still do that. You can still have your gatherings and stuff. Just don't affect the society. Don't make it a norm for society to go and have a pint or get drunk on a Friday night or on a Saturday night, because that's what happens. The pub culture has breeded this idea that it's okay to go and get smashed on a Friday night. So, and we're like, no, because the last thing we want for you as non-Muslims is for you to wake up with your head in the toilet.
No, that's fair enough.
Right?
I get where you're coming from.
So the prohibition is for your sake. Now, Islam doesn't give a damn about people's feelings when it's good for them, because the society takes precedence over the individual. When it comes to your individual rights, we don't impede on it. Even homosexuality. If you are homosexual and you do homosexual acts behind closed doors, the government can't touch you. We talk about the stoning and the throwing off the roofs and everything, but part of the Sharia is we can't touch you. And when can it even touch you? If there is intercourse, if two gay men have intercourse in public, that's the only time they will be taken to court and go through the judicial system and then potentially be executed for the act.
Can I just interject? You know Iran
Yes.
is the only country in the world that you can be transgender and actually change your birth certificate from man to woman. In Iran.
Yeah.
In where?
The only country in the world,
No, what country?
Iran.
Iran.
That if you change gender, you can change your birth certificate from man to woman,
Yeah.
woman to man.
Yeah. Well, see, like I said, Iran.
I do personally have a
Yeah.
problem.
Well, Iran. Well, yeah, exactly. This
the
is
part where I probably
completely.
got to blow my face out.
This
Like,
is-
I don't want to get cancelled with it. So.
If you worry about being cancelled, you need to check your faith with God.
In my, what?
Check your faith with God, because for us as Muslims, our belief, we rely solely on Allah,
Yeah.
and we know He's with us, so we don't care about cancel. Because who's our sustainer? Who sustains us?
God.
Right. So what does cancel? If everyone wanted to cancel you and God didn't want you cancelled, would you get cancelled?
I guess not.
No. All right.
I do-
Everything I said today on this cameras will get me cancelled 100 times
I would
over.
ask you, though, could you blow it? Because I got an open application to join the armed forces, so I don't want that to become a security issue.
Oh, you want your first spelled out?
Yeah, is that okay? I don't know.
The
if
thing
I'm
is, I've got
asking
to find 5 people now and
Yeah,
ask them
I
to
know,
do
I
that.
should've probably
You should have said that from the
said that,
beginning.
yeah, sorry.
Look, I can't guarantee it
Yeah.
because these are not my cameras.
Yeah.
I can ask the cameraman, can we blur his face out, inshallah? He wants his face blurred out, okay?
Thank you, brother.
So,
Why are you there in public place?
all right.
And you want your face blurred out?
No, he's got an application, so yeah.
Why can't?
Why? Because I wanted to converse with people
Yeah.
that have different
You
opinions.
don't want to be seen. It's just a nonsense.
No,
Fair enough.
it's
That's how you feel. That's how you
I
feel.
want to stand there filming. I have a right to.
yeah.
No, I'm not saying you don't have a right to
Anyway,
film.
yeah.
I'm not saying you don't have a right. I'm just asking for my face to be blurred out. That's what I'm asking.
So,
It makes sense, but if I want to stand there filming,
And I'm not saying you can't.
yeah.
I'm not saying you can't.
you can't tell me black out his face.
No,
I'm not saying you can't.
they can.
I'm
Okay.
asking. I'm not saying.
Can
you
we
have
have his,
to, I'm
when we upload it, can we have his face blurred, yeah?
Thank you, brother.
I've told the other brothers, I'm waiting for the other brothers to tell them as
Thank you.
well.
I know
so-
that's. I know. I should have asked that at the start, bro. You completely.
That's fine. Look, at the end of the day, I'll accommodate as much as I
thank
can.
you very much.
But like I said, I can't guarantee I'm not in control
No, I appreciate
of any of this stuff. Okay. So yeah, but the thing is, as I'm saying these things to you, does it not bring Islam into perspective to you that you can say, oh, wait, hold on a second, that actually makes sense?
No, some of it sounds like it definitely doesn't make sense, but I can't. I do appreciate everything you said, but I also have to go and read the scriptures for myself.
Naturally.
And formulate my own opinion.
Naturally.
So I'm saying what I was trying to do with the
Look,
Bible.
Islam. The basis of Islam is knowledge. We invite you to Islam and we give you the knowledge.
Yeah.
Naturally, you don't know me, right? You don't know if I'm talking absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
So naturally you're going to go away and research. But when you go away and research and realize that what I said to you is actually the religion, then ask yourself the question: why do I not accept something that makes sense to me? See, for us, it's not the core message is not love and peace and and all of that. Salvation is achieved by the knowledge of who you worship, the knowledge of who Allah is, the Creator, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the merciful, the beneficent, and the most merciful. Right? He is the sustainer. He is the witness, Al-Shaheed. Right? So He is the one that witnessed everything. So when we have historical claims in the Quran, we know they're true because God is the witness. Right? Makes sense. God is the one who witnessed everything over all time, has all knowledge of everything that's happened. So what He says is going to be the historical reality, even if the entire world writes books against it. Crucifixion being an example. If the entire world said Christ was crucified, but God is indeed the author of the Quran, then he never got crucified, right? Makes sense. So Allah has the 99 attributes. Look at these attributes and you'll see He is a Qahhar, He is Al-Malik, yeah, He's the king, He is the owner. So these are the attributes of Allah. For us, it's knowing who God is. Only then can we appreciate who He is and worship Him as He wants us to worship Him. Alright? So that's the basis of Islam. La ilaha illallah. There is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. Which is the statement of Moses, the statement of Jesus, peace be upon him. It's the same message. The only difference is the legislation. And even that, even that, it's very similar to the Old Testament. Stoning of adulterers.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with
Right?
you.
So,
But then again, we have the New Testament now, isn't it? And we have the New Covenant also. So would you not say that Christianity. I mean, this is me. Obviously, I'm still a newbie anyway.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Would you not say that Christianity is reformed in a way that Islam has failed to?
Islam,
Because like your scriptures are going to be the same now that they were
1400 years ago.
1400 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So
Would
it not be more beneficial for Muslims in general, for Islam, for there to be some
reform?
Yeah, some extent of
No. No. If
Because
it's,
you could
so there's a statement in the Quran, there's a verse in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Today I have completed your religion and completed and perfected your religion and chosen for you Islam as your religion." So this is straight from God. He's saying, "Today I've completed and perfected it." What comes after perfection? Imperfection. Right? So if you already have something that's perfect, do you need to change it?
I mean, well, obviously, if it's perfect,
You don't need to change it.
Would you say that
So,
Islam is perfect?
yeah. There is not a single thing about Islam that ever needed change throughout the 1400 years. And that's a testament to the legitimacy that it is from God.
So
because
why do you
God,
have abrogation?
abrogation happened at the time.
Yes, but if Islam was perfect, then why did...
No,
why
so
did-
after the message was done, okay, what was abrogated at the time? Allah abrogated it for specific reasons, right? So even like the law of drinking, at first it was permissible. Drinking was permissible, but Allah then said to the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. Though obviously the Prophet ﷺ didn't drink, but